What is the connection between the Torah and the land of Israel? Well, wouldn't you know it? The very first commentary that's given to us by Rashi. Rashi is known as a 5-year-old's commentary. Now, what does it mean, a 5-year-old commentary? It means that even a true 5-year-old can appreciate the teachings of Rashi. And he brings it in a simplistic form, the teachings, in order that it could be elucidated even for that child. Now, the truth be said, I'm not certain I'm a 5-year-old yet. The one that Rashi's speaking about. But nonetheless, we're going to make an effort together to come to elucidate the very first teaching of Rashi on the very first verse of the Torah. We know the very first verse of the Torah, Bereshit bara Elokim es hashamayim v'haaretz. In the beginning of creation, God created heaven and earth. And the very first teaching, you have it in front of you. Rashi quotes from Rabbi Yitzchak, from a Medrash, said, surely the Torah should have begun from the words, Achodesh hazeh lachem, this month shall be for you, which is in the book of Shmois, the book of Exodus, just before the exodus of the Jewish people from Egypt. This mitzvah was given of the new moon and sanctifying the new month. The first mitzvah to the Jewish people. Why does it begin with in the beginning? Is the question. With creation. The reason is conveyed by the verse. He, God, declared to his people, the Jewish people, the power of his works in order to give them the inheritance of the nations. From King David in Psalms. If the nations of the world will say to you, to the Jewish people, you are robbers. Listim atem is in the Hebrew. You are robbers. Why? For you seize the land of the 7 nations who inhabited Canaan. They will reply, who will reply? The Jewish people. The whole earth belongs to God. He created it and granted it to whoever he deemed fit in his eyes. It was his will that they should have it. Who should have it? The other nations. And by his will, he took it from them and gave it to us. So, before we go into depth to understand the details of the teachings over here, look at that. The very first teachings of Rashi ties the Torah with the land of Israel. Could you imagine? Rashi lived during the First Crusades. That's where he lived, in France. And here in a prophetic vision, he writes something that today is so crucially important for the Jewish people to understand. What is our connection to the land of Israel? What does it say here very clearly? God gave it to them and then took it from them and gave it to us. Why? Because the Torah says so. God, who is creator, and therefore the Torah starts with creation, is the one who decides what belongs to who. So for a time he gave it to other nations, the Canaanites, and then he granted to whoever who he deemed fit, and then ultimately gave it to us, the Jewish people. So look at that, right in the very beginning. The Torah is telling us of our inherent connection to the land, because God spoke and said that it belongs to us. So right there we have. You can close the books. The connection is made. But let's understand much more deeply in the words of Rashi, the prophetic words of Rashi, and how exacting his words are. So he quotes again from Rabbi Yitzchak. Let's go into it. And if you want to write notes, feel free to. Surely the Torah should have begun from the words, this month shall be for you, meaning the first mitzvah that was given to the Jewish people as a collective whole. But why does it begin in the beginning? So Nachmanides, or the Ramban, he has an issue here with what Rashi says. What do you mean, start with the first mitzvah all the way later on in the book of Exodus? There's mitzvahs that are in the book of Genesis, Pruruvu, be fruitful and multiply. The mitzvah of Gidanasha, of not taking the sciatic nerve, that you can't eat that of an animal. Story of Jacob when he fought with the angel. That mitzvah is told. So, we miss out on those mitzvahs. Furthermore, a whole book of Genesis. What's the book all about? Our forefathers. And many stories about their journey. So we should exclude all of that. To start with the first mitzvah of declaring the new month? How does that make sense? How many questions is that so far? 2. Let's go further. So the reason he conveyed, so it says that nations of the world will say to the Jewish people, you are robbers. Listim atem. So here the Rebbe also takes issue. What do you mean we're robbers? If you look back in history, who was granted the land first? Anybody know? From the sons of Noah, of Noach, Shem was granted the land of Israel. Who are the descendants of Shem? The Jewish people. Who took it over, so to speak, conquered it, or robbed it, is Canaan, who is the son of, not of Shem, no, of Ham, the third son. So if anything, who are the robbers? The Canaanites, not us. Third question. Now, in Jewish law, there's a, or not, actually, sorry, take that back, not in Jewish law, but in the way of the world, you know, remember giving Jewish history courses, and when you compare Jewish history to non-Jewish history, you know what non-Jewish history is all about? This king conquered this king, this nation conquered that nation and got that land, and it's all about conquering and, you know, and everything, all of the drama is only secondary to what the ultimate goal is, building an empire. That's what non-Jewish history is about, as opposed to Jewish history. We have a Rashi, we have a Rambam, what they contributed in the teachings of the Torah.